Isolation. I want to talk to you today about isolation is very important. I can't stress enough how important isolation is. Sometimes we go through life and we just going through the motions. Most of us are going through the motions. Uh, at some point, we sat down and figured out what we had to do, and after we figured out what we had to do, we just put our heads down and we did it. And it goes a little something like this. You decided, you know what? This is a pretty good job. Uh, I have a family. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to work. And then when I finish, I'll retire. And if we're not careful, we'll look up. And if we've been in that job 20, 30, 40 years, and then we retire, and we kind of lost and missed out on the essence of life. And life isn't about going to work and making enough money to be able to take care of your responsibilities. That's not what it's all about. It's a better way to doing that. And a lot of times, if you just kind of isolate yourself and just take a moment to just step outside of yourself and look into your situation, then you would understand, okay, this is what I need to do. Isolation, a lot of times, if you are in any way, shape, form in tune with yourself, and being in tune with yourself requires you to spend time with yourself, to understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are. But I'm not getting into all of that right now. I want to talk about why isolation is important to you. When I tell you it's important for you at some time to isolate and not communicate what it is that you're trying to do, it is for your benefit. If you isolate yourself and you marinate on what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to go about doing it, you're going to have to understand that it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. A lot of people, if they can't see and grasp your vision, they're going to tell you it's a stupid idea, or they're going to tell you that you shouldn't be doing that. And a lot of times it's coming from a place of, I wish I would have thought of that myself. A lot of times people will tell you not to do something that you're embarking on doing so they can take the idea and do it for yourself. They want to discourage you from doing it. And then they want to go and do their version of it. So you got to be careful about that. I'm going to use myself as an example because I want to talk about my experiences. I was working for this company, and this company, I was a contractor, and I was a pretty good contractor for them. And I was making, I was making good money, and everything was going good. And then all of a sudden I saw smoke. And what I mean by that is there were some changes that happened. Now, my company was saying when these changes were coming about, hey guys, relax, don't worry about it. Business as usual. Change brings opportunity, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. But my company was basically trying to keep the ball players in play. They don't listen. If the ship is going to go down, they want all of their rowers to keep rowing, and they have a means of escape. They know where the safety rafts are in case the ship goes down. They ain't telling you. They're going to tell you to be encouraged. We're going to get through this. We're going to fix this patch hole in the ship. And we're going to get rid of this water that's gotten in, and, we're going to be back to normal. But life is going to, throw things at you, and you have to be sensitive enough to understand when it is. And you don't have to understand the complexities of the situation, but you do have to understand that something is wrong. Something doesn't feel right. Something isn't right. And a lot of times we want to go investigative, and we want to investigate what it is. We want to verify. What we're basically trying to do a lot of times is we want to verify if the situation that we think is wrong is actually just me tripping. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Investigation is fine, but not at a point to your detriment. What you need to be doing is you need to understand that the universe is talking to you. The universe is sending you all kinds of signals. The universe is telling you what's going on. If you pay attention to what's going on around you and you spend any length of time with yourself, you're going to have a feeling about things. And when you feel something, don't fight against it. Be glad that you were warned. And in my situation, there were some changes that was happening to legislation. There were some changes and there were mergers happening with my company. And there were some changes and the writings were on the wall. And a lot of people just kind of sat around and they just said, hey, it'll be okay. My manager told me that change is business as usual. I'm making pretty good money right now, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And so when I pulled myself from that situation, okay, the situation provided for me and my family the type of income that I needed to take care of the things that I needed to take care of. Okay. So a lot of people will get in a situation and say, hey, I'm not going to do anything to disrupt that. But I had to do something to disrupt that. Now, over here was the alternative plan was, to back out, do A, B, and C. And A, B, and C, I know and believe will work things out so that my situation is not only where it is, but it is 10 times better. And if I would have, so what I normally would do is if I had a gut feeling about something, I'm just a natural helper. So I want to help everybody. Hey guys, I just don't have a good feeling about this. I think we should probably start doing this, this, and this, and this. And time after time, I get in situations like that and I would end up making enemies. I would end up, man, Lee, he's crazy. I was pretty much involuntarily isolating myself from the team of whatever I was involved in. But I didn't do that this time. So this time I said no. So I put together and I devised the game plan that I felt was best for me. And that's another thing. When you're devising the game plan, yes, sure, you're going to have some doubts or you're going to have some uncertainties. But if you are going to take the time to seek counsel about what it is that you're trying to do, and you don't have the time to give the whole montage of what's going on, don't ask for advice. Because if you give half information, you're going to get a half answer. And if you get a half answer, it's not going to work for your whole situation. So the best thing to do is don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Just because nobody understands the intricacies of your situation like you understand it. So this is isolation time. I had a coach in college, Coach Mel Tucker. He is now the head coach at Colorado University. And Coach Tucker, he said to the group of us defensive backs, he said, there is going to come a time where nobody's going to believe in you. But do you believe in yourself? And that's what's going to matter. And when it's time to isolate yourself, it's very similar. Nobody's going to believe in you. But do you believe in yourself? And if you believe in yourself, that's your best chance. Because I'm going to tell you, if things don't work out and you do it someone else's way, that someone else isn't going to take the blame for what happened to you. And certainly they won't have to answer for it. If it does work out, yes, they'll want praise, this, that, and the other. But why would you want the balance of your fate to lay in another person's hands when they have their own fate to be concerned about? So you need to make sure that if you're right about something or you're wrong about something, that it is you and your decision Make your decision. I guess what I'm trying to say is be right or be wrong based on your convictions in anything. So I pulled myself out of that situation and I decided I was going to be right or wrong about my convictions. But I knew, but when you're thinking about something, you kind of know if you're right or if you're wrong. You just have this hunch about it. But I had a strong conviction about this being right. I knew that I was over here, and I'm just using not real examples because I don't want to get too deep into, but I'm going to use some examples that are correlated to what I'm saying, okay? I was in a situation where I was if I helped a particular customer, I would probably make about $500 when I, executed that, right? And so my thought process was, how many of these 500s can I get in a week? And how much do I need to make? And that's what I'm going to be doing. And so to change from that, okay, and to go into this unknown experience-wise, that takes discipline and that takes courage. And you have to have discipline and courage to isolate yourself. But I knew that if I went over here and I did this ABC thing, I would be looking at, instead of 500 a customer, I would be looking at 5,000 a customer, 50,000 a customer. And so I smiled, I came around, I did my thing, and I gracefully stopped coming around these group of people. And there were a few of them. Let me think. No, nobody really called because I stopped coming around, but my numbers were still good. And so by doing my job, it allowed me to stay subtle. And in my part-time, I would be over here working on ABC. And it took a little time for ABC to come into fruition. And so, but ABC came into fruition. And I would be over here with ABC getting a transaction that would take me a month to get over here with this corporation that I was working with. And that allowed me the cushion. So I didn't say anything. I didn't leave the company and whatnot, but I didn't say anything. And by me doing it that way, I allowed myself an opportunity to be able to go back if things were good. And I gave myself an opportunity to jump ship if things fell apart. So now that company is still doing business. But I talked to some of my colleagues over there, and they talk about how hard it is under the new regime, how much changes have happened. And how much work they have to do to be able to get the kind of income that they were once accustomed to doing. And then I look at, I'm not nearly working as hard as they are. And I'm over here doing A, B, and C, and I'm comfortable. And you know what that did to me? That made me say, you know what? I need to work harder at A, B, and C. Because the opportunity is there for me to garner what I want to garner. And instead of, here I was sitting back and I was saying, wow, I just did a transaction over here in A, B, and C, and I got all of this money. And I can relax, I can chill, my bills are paid, I got money in savings, I got money in investments, I'm good. But the lesson learned there is you have to hustle while you have the muscle. You have to hustle while you have the muscle. And that's what I did. That's what I started doing. And I started skyrocketing in terms of what my income, what income I brought in. And I just became a savage. I said, okay, this is the time I'm going to spend doing ABC, and this is the time I'm going to be doing non-ABC. Fill in the blank. And so I was committed to not thinking about ABC when I was over here. And when I was over here with ABC, I wasn't thinking about anything else. And I was just going. So I did what I needed to do. I reached out. I made the relationships I needed to make. I sowed the seeds that I needed to sow. And I sold out for what was in my gut, and it panned out. And does that mean that everything that's in your gut is going to pan out? Well, I believe it will. The only time that it doesn't is when you've got some mixed signals in your gut. So it's like this, okay? Probiotics. Probiotics is supposed to get rid of the bad bacteria in your gut, and it's supposed to leave the good bacteria in your gut. So think about good thoughts and bad. Think about the poison and the toxins that you have around you in your life, and that gets into your head, and your brain communicates with your gut, and your gut communicates with your brain. And so now you've got good things that are holistic about you inside of you, but then you've got these bad things that are also inside of you now too. So now you have something in your gut telling you to do something, but you got some bad things in your gut. So now guess what? You could end up making a bad decision because you got bad information from the bad that was in your gut. So what you need to be focused in on when I talk about isolating yourself is you got to focus in, and you got to look deep down in yourself, and you got to clean yourself out. You have to detox yourself. You have to detox your mind, your body, your spirit. You have to detox yourself because you only want what's pure running through you. So when you hear something inside of you, you don't have to question if it's good or if it's not, because you are connected to the universe. And if you have good flowing through you, and you keep a good check, and you detox yourself with the regularity in which you should, then you know that when you hear something inside of yourself, you are convicted to do it. You don't need to know the nuances of how it's going to turn out. You just know that that's what you better be doing. So isolate yourself. Take some time to detox yourself and rid yourself of all of the impurities as much as possible. Mind, body, and spirit. Just get away from it. Get away from the naysayers. Get away from the ones that doubt, the ones that always want to put in sow negativity. Look at what you have around you. Isolate yourself from that. Take deep breaths. Meditate. Think. Conjure up your game plan. Go do what it is that you have to do. And then once you do what it is that you have to do, stay consistent and persistent with it so that you can yield the results that you need for yourself and the ones that are dependent on you. And yeah, I know it's scary not knowing. But the sooner you realize in life that not knowing, if you let not knowing hold you back from doing something, you'll never accomplish what you want to accomplish, not even close. You just have to say, you know what? I'm going to focus in on what I can control. And that's my steps that I'm going to take. So you take the time. It's like looking in the mirror. You've probably heard me say this, or you heard this before. It's like burning an image into your mind. It's always going to be there. So you don't have to keep looking at the playbook. But you might have to, in the beginning, stop and stare at the goal so you can burn it into your image. You can burn that, I'm sorry, you can burn that image into your mind so that even when you're not trying to look at the goal is in mind. They had this picture of this little girl, and it had 3 dots on her nose and a triangle, 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom, and it's shaped like a triangle if you drew the dots. Okay. And it told you to look at her for 10 seconds straight. And then once you do, then look up in the ceiling. And when you look up in the ceiling, you would actually see that girl in the ceiling. That means that if you focus on something long enough, the image is going to be burned into you. You think about key situations that you remember clearly. It captivated you and it burned into you. That time that you looked that girl in the eyes and you fell in love and you became enamored with exactly what you were saying. And years and years and years have passed and you never forgot that. You never forgot the way that person was looking at you. It's the same thing. You have to, but if you haven't sat down and thought about your goals and what you're trying to do, and you haven't burned those things into your mind, you're not even ready or set to take off and pursue what it is that you need to pursue. So isolate yourself from the masses. Detoxify. So write this down. Number 1, isolate. Number 2, detoxify. Number 3, write out your goals and your visions. Focus in on the destination in which you seek to reach. Burn that image into your head. Pick up your assignment, and with all trust and belief, go. Just go. And when you go, don't let nothing stop you except death. Look, if your time in your vessel is interrupted in pursuit of your goal, and your goal is so plain and so clear, the right one will pick up where you left off. Sometimes it's not even all about getting to the place that you're supposed to get to. Sometimes it's you were just designed to see the vision and start the journey, because your mind capacity was only capable enough to be able to see that. Well, the next person that comes along after you, they may not see what you saw. They just may want to continue what you were doing in honor of you. So be honorable. And when that happens, man, they'll get to the goal and they'll say, wow, this is what my dad was going after. Wow, this is so worth it. Or if you're fortunate enough, you get the opportunity to be able to complete the goal. But if you think that if you see smoke in your life and you see trials and tribulations that are coming, it's kind of like objects are closer in the mirror than they appear. Well, it's the same thing. You have to be able to see if this is what's going on to you, what's going on with you. Are you going to take that time to be able to assess the situation and go and do the steps that I just shared with you? Isolate yourself and remove yourself from the public. Remove yourself from everybody. Detoxify yourself. Get rid of all of that doubt, negativity, the negative people, and everything that's not good in your gut. Okay? Because you want to only have good bacteria like probiotics, right? So that's the number 2 thing. Number 3, you want to go ahead and you want to write out you have to ask yourself where you want to go. Okay? The goal of where you want to go. Okay. You have to be able to know what it looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, and what it sounds like. You need to be able to heighten your five senses towards your goal of what it is. You have to have a complete image of it. Burn it and stare at it. Burn it. Draw it. I don't care. But burn that image into your head. Once it's in your head, you won't have to remember it. It'll always be some type of silhouette with you while you're doing it. And it'll keep you laser focused. Because you see it, but you don't see it. You understand? Then the next thing you need to do is you need to write down the steps that it takes to get there. What is my next step? If I want to do this, what is my next step? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? And why am I doing this? So you need to have your who, what, when, where, why together. And then once you have all of that together, the next step is put your straps on and go. And it's not a sprint. You know, Nipsey Hussle very famously said this. He didn't originate this, but it's burned in my heart with him saying it. And that was, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The marathon continues. Think about that. The marathon continues. This is the goals and the dreams that you have. If it ends with you, it wasn't big enough. The goal and the dream has to be, this is going to be big enough for those that I'm leaving behind to pick it up. They'll want to pick it up. They'll like to pick it up. Let me tell you something. When a person dies and they don't have anything, people don't want that stuff, right? Because it ain't nothing. But if somebody dies and they leave properties, okay, they leave businesses, man, you'll have family of all kinds lining up to, well, he wanted me to take over that, this, that, and the other, da, da, da. They'll be lining up. Anything of value people are going to want, okay, to be a part of and affiliated with. Okay, you see people fighting over that at funerals. You see people, family members fighting over things like that when there's no structure to it. But lay those things out. Lay it out. Make it clear. Make it plain. Go and get it. All right. So, you got to get out there and you got to do that. Because if you don't, you're going to end up at best being average. And I don't think you were put here to be average when you can be an excellent you.